Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing good. Today we're going to be building a Python GUI based project using Tkinter library, and it's going to be looking like this. So basically it's a quiz application, and it lets you choose from a range of questions, which are going to be 5 questions, taking you through the application that you're going to build. It will be just of this height and width, and gives you a question and a range of answers. So if I select Paris, which is the capital city of France, I submit, gives me the second question. The language, I know it's JavaScript, but I'm just going to choose Python, although I know it's the wrong answer. I submit, I select Jupiter, I submit, then I select Shakespeare, I submit, and I select 100 degrees, I submit. So it's going to pop up, message box is going to pop up showing me that my score is 4 out of 5. And the question I got wrong is going to bring it for me, which programming language is known. That one I selected Python, and in actual sense it was JavaScript. So we're going to build this real quick, and we're going to be seeing how it works. Yeah, so that is what we're going to build. A new folder on my desktop, of which I'm going to call a quiz. I drag it and drop it in my VS Code. My folder is going to be open inside my VS Code. Then I'll come and create a new file and name it quiz.py. Yeah, a Python extension. Yep. And to be sure that this one is working out pretty fine, I'm just going to first pull up my terminal over here. And after pulling up my terminal, I first give a print statement to make sure my Python is working fine. Let's clear this up and we can start right away. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to import the libraries we want to use. Now, GUI, or what we call graphical user interface, is basically what you see on the screen, everything we're looking at here. The icons on the screen, these, when you right click, the refresh. So it's just a graphical user interface that enables a user to quickly select commands just by using pictorial commands. Yeah, so that is what we build using graphical user interface. So to be sure that we are working with graphical user interface in Python, first of all, we have to import that library called Tkinter. So we are going to import Tkinter, then as TK. So what this line of code basically does, is that it assigns the library called Tkinter as a TK. So this library is the one that we use for building graphical user interfaces in Python, and that is what we're going to use. Then another library that we're going to use is we're going to go inside Tkinter library. So we go inside the Tkinter library that we just imported and import the message box. We import the message box. So this message box, it will provide us with the message box module from the Tkinter, which will provide the pop-up dialog box, like maybe information, warning, or errors. So I hope you remember the other time when we were overviewing our project, after submitting your final answer, it's going to bring up a pop-up box, of which is going to be showing you your final mark, score, and the number of questions you got wrong. So that will be brought up by this box from Tkinter. So those are the two libraries that we're going to use in this project. So after importing those two libraries that we're going to use in this project, the next thing we're going to do is create questions. So the questions, yeah, let me just comment this out so that you can understand. So after getting that comment, so here we're going to create a question type an array. So I'm going to call it an array. But that array, because the purpose here, we want our Python to always select questions from this array. So I'm going to create inside that array, I'm going to put a dictionary. There's something we call a dictionary. So a dictionary that is going to be referencing our questions from this variable. First question, let me first create some space here. Yep. So I create my first question. So I'm going to call this one a dictionary. So it's going to be a dictionary. My first question will be question number 1. And I come here, I say, what is the capital city of Uganda? Uganda. That will be my question. That will be my question right there. So after putting my question, I will put my answers in the same dictionary. So I will go in the same dictionary and I create my options. So I'll create option number 1. And what is my option number 1? Answers. Answers, of course, we have to tell the computer that these are the answers which they will select from. So I'll say that. And if you can remember very well in our project, we add a multiple number of answers. So that means since there are multiple number of answers from which the computer will be selecting from, or Python will be selecting from, we are supposed to put them inside an array because there are more than one answer. So we put them inside an array, and the first answer we are going to call it Berlin, and the second answer we call it Kampala, and the third answer we call it Barala. Yeah, I think that's it. And the fourth value we're going to give it maybe good. Going to give it good. Now let's remove this Berlin and put only Ugandan cities. I'm going to put Mitoma exactly. So after doing that, that will be my second. Sorry, I forgot a comma here. Yep. So after doing that, I also put another comma here. Now the reason as to why I'm putting these commas is because when you're creating a dictionary enables someone to put different types of variables or different types of data inside an array. Now we created an array first, which are these square brackets, and also created a dictionary, which is this one. So then I will create another value, which will be the answer, the correct answer, so that the compute, sorry, I think these ones were options, not answers. Yeah. So these will be options from which the computer will be selecting from. So here this will be the answer, and now the answer. Now the computer will be selecting, or will be automatically marking you from the range of all the number of values that you will have entered up here. So here our correct answer in this case is Kampala, because it's the capital city of Uganda. So it is the capital city of Uganda. And after doing that, I will close my dictionary, and it's already closed right here. And that will be my first question. So this is my first question, and we do the same for the rest of the questions. But I'm going to just paste them because I already had them. So yeah, so since I already had my questions already typed, so I'm just going to paste them. But if I do that, I'll first put these ones on the same line. I just had put them on different lines so that you can understand them better. So I'm just going to put them on the same line. Yep. And after that, I will put this closing curly brace on the same line, and then I'll put a comma. I put a comma, it was already there. Then I paste my other questions there. Yeah, I already typed these questions. I already typed them early enough, so yep, they were ready. So these will be my questions. These will be my 5 questions. So here, these are our questions. Yep. So we have one question which says, what is the capital city of Uganda, programming language for web, and other 4 questions. So, and each of these questions, it has a question, and it has options from which we'll be selecting from, and it also has the answer, which will be the right answer for our question when the user selects it. So after creating an array of questions of which we put them inside a dictionary, the next step we have to do in here is to define the class. So here we're going to define a class. So I'm going to put a comment, we say defining the class. So we're going to define the class that is going to which is going to encapsulate all the quizzes, logic, and GUI, and the graphical user interface. So we're going to create a class, and that class we're going to give it a name, which we will call, basically, maybe let's just call it a quiz app. Yeah, because we are working with a quiz app, so let's just call it a quiz app. So I will just say class. I call it quiz app. Yeah, that is how they create Python classes. So you just do that, and that will be my Python class. I'm going to define what we call a class constructor, and that class constructor is going to be a function, of which I'm going to start with a def because it's a function. I'm defining a function, but it's going to be a class constructor. So I put double put slash there, and I call init. It's going to be my class constructor. And if you can notice, after I placed the init function, it automatically gave itself a self parameter. So I will come and here I want 2 parameters. I want a self parameter, and I want another thing called a root. We shall see what these ones mean with in a short period of time. So don't worry about it if it's confusing you right now, but we're going to see what they actually do. So it comes with a pass, but inside this pass, I'm going to paste in my own information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the first configuration, because basically what we're doing here, we are creating configuration for our graphical user interface, like we shall be seeing. So I'll say self dot. The first thing I'm going to do is create the root, which I will call it a root. Yeah, Then the second configuration that we shall need, I will say self dot root, then dot title, the title of our application, the other one which was on top in the title bar, and I'll call it the quiz appli. Okay, let me call it the Victoria University VU quiz application. Then the third parameter that we are the third root configuration that we are going to use is to define how big we want our window to be. So we say root dot geometry, how we want our window, how big we want our window to be, and we want it to be maybe 500 by something like maybe 400. I think that one can work for us. So this is how big our window is going to be. So another root configuration that we're going to need is we shall say self dot root dot configuration. Then we are going to give it a background color. So that background color that you're going to give it, we say BG. To define our background color, we say BG. Then we give it an equal signs, and then we define our background color. Now, our background colors here, I'm just going to use a hexadecimal color. Yeah, you have the right to say red or green or something, but in computer, basically programming, there is what we call hexadecimal colors. So we say hash. Then I'm just going to give it 2C, 3E, and then 50. Yeah, I'm just going to give it that, and that will be my decimal number. So if I can really explain these ones, yeah, let me just comment these ones out so that you can follow along with me. Yep. We'll say the first root configuration. This one stores the main Tkinter window or the root as an attribute of the class. So this one is going to store the main Tkinter window then as an attribute of the class. Yeah, this root configuration, that is what it's going to basically do. Then the self.title, I also put a comment, and it sets, this one is going to set the title, title of the window. It's going to set the title of the window. Then what this one is going to basically do, it is going to set the window size. So this one is going to set the Windows size. It's going to set the Windows size, and it's going to set the Windows size. And another configuration that we had talked about is the background. So this one is going to change the background of the window. So yeah, those will be our root configurations, and that will be what we shall need at the moment. So we're going to the next step. So if I can actually try to run this, let's see if it will work out. We try to run and see nothing is running so far. We're good to go. So that means we have no error. So since we have no error, it means we are good to go. Everything is fine and working out perfectly. So the next step, we are going to define how we're going to define the quiz state variables, or the initial values that our Python will hold, still inside the function of the init function, or what we called the root configuration. We're going to state our quiz variables, which will be the initial quiz variable. So that means it should be inside our function still. So we're going to say, and remember, whatever I'm using, we're using the self and the root, and there are parameters to the init function. Yeah, and we're using it for the root configuration. So inside my function, I'm going to create another thing here. So what I'm going to create, I'm going to put a comment. We are going to track the user's score. Whatever the user scores, right? Like gets right or gets wrong. So we say self, we call the self, and then we call the score. We say user self.score. This one is going to store the number of questions the user got right and the number of questions the user got wrong, and we shall initialize it to 0, because at the moment the user has nothing right, has nothing wrong if they haven't answered anything already. So that will be our first quiz state variable. Then the second state variable, we're going to create a self. Let me first write a comment. What we're going to do is we're going to track which question is currently being displayed. So this one, what is going to do is going to know what question is being displayed, because you remember we created an array and assigned a dictionary, of which each dictionary holds a question. So we do not know, or the computer doesn't know what question should be displayed at the moment, or what question is being displayed at the moment. So this one, what is going to do is going to track the question that is currently being displayed, and we say self dot current, just say self dot current, then the current question here, the question that we are going to display there. So at the moment we are going to say 0 because we are not displaying any question since our program is not yet running. And the third state variable we're going to do, I'm going to say we need to store incorrect answered questions for later display. So if you can remember how our project was when I was displaying it before we started building it, the pop-up window, the other pop-up window at the end shows you the number of questions you got wrong, and it tells you the right answer. So this one is going to store the questions you got wrong so that it can display the right answers after. So I'm going to say self dot correct answers, then I say equals. Now there is a possibility that a user can get more than one answers wrong. So that means if there are more than one answers wrong, they will be put in an array. So that means we are going to create an array, but it's going to be an empty array because we do not know how many questions the user is going to get wrong. So we shall just call it an array. So just like that, and that will be our quick state variables. Yep. The next thing we gotta do here is we have to set the title label. So you remember our project had a title label that told us okay, that was kind of welcoming us to the quiz. So that is what we're gonna do here. I retyped it, so I'm just going to paste it here, and I can see I have an error. I think it's just because of this space. Yeah, I'm just going to reduce it. And what this basically does, this one is going to let me first put it on the same line, and this one is going to, creates a label for the widget. Yeah, basically the widget we have been looking at. And what is the widget? The first thing here, we can see the text. Now this text is the text that we are actually going to display. Welcome to the quiz. So that is the text here. Then the next thing that it shows is the font. That font will be in Arial and 18 font size, and then bold. It's going to be bolded. Then another thing is going to be the background. That background, I think this background is kind of going to be something like dark blue or gray or something like that, and maybe a white foreground. Yeah, the white foreground is here. BG is the background, then FG is the foreground, which is going to be white. And then we have this pad X, which is going to be the padding along the horizontal axis. Then the padding Y is going to be the padding along the Y axis. Now if you don't know what padding is, don't worry, you're going to see it. Yeah, we're going to see it. But basically it is what it is the amount of space that those of you who have done website development, it's the amount of space that an element leaves there from a certain site. I don't know if I have explained it a better way, but yep, that's basically it. But do not worry, you keep on coming. Yep. So we proceed. The next thing we are going to do, the next thing we're going to do here, so the next thing we're going to do here is that we are going to make our title get displayed below the title. We're going to place our label below the title because this one is the label for the widget. So we are going to place this label below our title. Remember, our window has a title, which is this view quiz application. So we want to place this label below that title. So I'm going to say this one is going to place the title below the place the label below the title. Yeah, and we basically do it by saying self dot question label, then dot pack. Yep, pack is an inbuilt Python function that is going to help us do that. It's going to help us place the labels of the question and the label of the title. The label of our welcome screen under the title. If we try to run this, it's going to execute very well, meaning we have no errors. I'm going to clear my terminal and we can proceed. So the next thing we're going to do here is that we are going to create a frame. We're going to create a frame for our thingy. So our frame is going to be simply, I already typed it somewhere, so I'm just going to copy it, and then I think, yep, it was already on my, first reduce this one here. Yeah, so what this one is going to do, remember our questions have the labels that we use to display to them, and if you can remember, we have this, which was these questions. We have the Bahrain label, Madrid, Paris, and Rome. Okay, then we have this, what is the capital city, this one. Then we have this one will be our title here, then this one is going to be our label, then this one is going to be the question, and these ones will be the options. So that is what I mean. So here we are going to be saying, and if you can look at this right here, it says self.question label equals tk.label under the root and the configuration. Okay, after doing that, the next thing we have to do is we have to display the question. And as per now, when the user starts our program, we expect that the user will be having no questions displayed to their window. So that question we are going to display the question on the window. So what we do when we display the question on the window, I'm just going to paste this one because I already had it on my clipboard. Yeah. So here, what this one basically does, it creates an initial state. Now, if you can see, we have the label of this question, and if I can pull out my quiz application here to show you, this is my label, which is going to be my question. So before the user starts this program, this label is going to be empty. That is why we set the text to an empty string, and we set the font, the wrap length, the background and the foreground, and also the padding. So this one will set our initial state of the question to be 0. Okay, like we shall not be doing anything. Like this question will be actually blank. It's going to be blank, so it's not going to be doing anything. Yep. And then after doing that, we are going to place that question below the title also. So I'm going to display that question below the title. So I'm just going to come and I say that here I'll be placing place the question below the title. So I'll say self, I'll call myself, then I say dot question label, then dot pack. I'm going to pack it right there. Why is it showing that it's already? Oh, I realized my mistake. I had made a mistake here. It's supposed to be self dot. This one is not supposed to be. No, it's not supposed to be question label. This one is supposed to be a title label. So I'm just going to say the title label. Then that title label I say dot pack. So I'll be packing my title label here. Then that title label, I'm going to fill it. I'm going to create a fill, and then I create a string. I say I want to fill it to the x-axis, along the x-axis. So that will be it. So this one, what it basically does, it's going to fill. It's going to place the label on top and stretches it across the horizontal window, so that our question here will be displayed like this here. So it's going to stretch it along the horizontal axis. That is what it basically does. It's going to fill it along the x-axis and then place it on top of the window. Sorry, on top over on top, and it stretches across the horizontal window. So after we've done that, we're now going to create our frame. We're now going to create our we are going to create our frame, and I'll just paste this one here. I already had it. So we say self.option this frame. Now the use of this frame, let me also put a comment here. So we are going to create a frame to hold the answer options. Yeah, the other options that we have from our array inside the dictionary. These ones, it's going to hold these ones. So that would be our frame, or this one here that holds the options. So it's going to be our frame. So I'm going to say it is self.option.frame, which is going to be, it matches the background. We just made it a background, and it matches with what we had here previously, which is the background of the label, and still the background of the same background we've been using. And we also give it the frame option of padding. So this padding is going to be our it's going to be the padding, but along the vertical axis. So yeah, that's it. Then the next thing we do is we are going to create a button. Remember, our quiz application had a button. If you got this button that we used to submit, so we are going to create it right here. So here we create a button that we shall use to submit our answers. So this will be the button which we shall use to submit our answers, and that button will be just created in a few lines of code. And I already had it somewhere. I think it's already on my clipboard, so I'll just paste it, then I explain it. Yep, so it will be this. That will be it. I'm just going to reduce this one here, and then I create some space over here, and I explain this. So let me first close my terminal so that I can have a very large window. So that I can see what exactly needs to be explained. So what this one basically does, we can see here the first option is self.selected option. So this one is a string variable that will hold the user's selected value. And remember, if the user doesn't select anything initially, meaning the value will be 0, or the value, we shall not have any value. That is why I created an empty string here. So this one here, I'm just going to put a comment for each line. So this one will store the user's selected answer. So the user hasn't selected any answer, so it's going to be an empty string, which is going to be an empty value. Then another thing, we have self.radio buttons. Now this one creates radio buttons. Remember, our answers are selectable here, so that when you select this one will automatically deselect itself. So when you select another answer, now this one will not be selected and this one will be selected. So this one creates radio buttons. And another thing we need, we are going to create a loop. This one is a loop here. Let me create another comment here. It creates the radio buttons for the answers to be selected. Then here we create a loop, and what this loop is going to do is it's going to loop 4 times to create one radio button for each answer choice. So this loop is just going to loop 4 times. The reason as to why I'm saying 4 times is because we have 4 answers or 4 options here. So this loop is going to loop 4 times to create one radio button for each answer choice, meaning it's going to take the number of answers that you have here, there are 4 answers, there are 4 choices, then it's going to loop through them. You get me? Yep. So that is what we are going to basically do in this line here. So we loop 4 times. So we said for this dash in range 4, because we are going to do it 4 times. Then we create a button which is a radio button, and we say button equals to tk. We already imported it somewhere up here because we imported it from Tkinter, which is the library that we are using. So from tk, dot radio button to make sure that we are making a radio button in actual sense. Then this radio button takes it a number of parameters. So the radio button takes it a number of parameters, and we are going to see them one by one. The first parameter it takes is the self.options frame. So this one is going to place it inside our frame that we have created previously. Then we have the text and the value. And if you can see the text and the value here, they are empty strings. So this is just a placeholder value that will be updated automatically. It's going to be updated dynamically depending on the number of choices that we have up here. So yeah, that is what it basically does. Yep. Then we have the font, which will be the font of our thingy, the font of our options. Then the background color, the foreground, then the select color, which is this one here. The select color, you see, it changes from green to white, something like that. Like a white spot comes along. Then we have the anchor, and the anchor, this one aligns the text to the left. Yeah, so that is why we said W. Yeah, it aligns our text to the left. Then we have the last parameter, which is going to be wrap length, just going to be 400. Yep. Then these will be the parameters for our radio button, and our radio button is now set. So we defined and created our radio buttons. We pack them up. So we say button.pack, and we anchor them to the left. Remember, and we create a padding of 5 along the horizontal. The y-axis. Along the vertical axis. Then we give them a padding of 10 along the horizontal axis. Then we append those buttons, and by appending, we actually store the buttons in a list for later updates. So we append those buttons in a list. So we create a list, and we store them in that list so that we can later update them regularly. Then the next thing that we are going to do here, we are going to create our submit button. Now the buttons that we have been creating here were our radio button, these ones. Now we are going to create this submit button. So this submit button, I already have on my clipboard. I'm just going to make sure they are the same. So this one is going to be create enter. So this is going to be our submit button, and this one is going to be our radio buttons. Then it's going to be our submit button. Now our submit button also has a number of parameters that it takes, but we say self.submit button because we are creating a submit button. And the first thing that we do is the text. We create a button. Then the first thing that we do is the text here that says submit, which is going to be this value here. You have the freedom to change it, but I'm just going to take this up. So it's going to be submit. Then the font is going to be Arial, font size 14. The background color, the foreground, and then the active background color. The active background color is this color that's going to come whenever you click something. Yep, so you can see our application is actually smart to know that we didn't select anything. Say submit, that one that pops up immediately when you submit. That one, and active foreground, the foreground of the word is going to be white, and we create a command. When we click this button, what do we want to send our answers to? We're going to be submitting that answer, so we create a command for that button so it can actually submit our answer somewhere that we do not know yet, but we are going to see in a very short time. Then after that, we also pack it in our window. So we say self.submit button because it's the submit button that we just created, and we pack it and we pad it to the 20 along the horizontal axis so that it can actually be displayed down by increasing the padding from the along the y axis or the vertical axis. Yep. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to display our footer message. Remember, our this application had what we called basically the let me first make this the right thing. I think it's gotta be around there, and the self is supposed to be closing from here, and I will give these so that we can actually see where our thing is starting from. Then this over here is going to be self also. It's supposed to start from here. I'm going to create this so that we can merge it. So the next thing we're going to do here, we are going to create our footer message. And remember, our footer message was telling us to I think it was basically saying good luck. If you can remember very well, it was saying good luck. So I will first make this one a Python, so sensitive to that, and I create a footer message, and we create a label for that message, and the text in that label will just be good luck. So I will just say good luck. I give it a font, background size, and a background color and a foreground color. Yeah, that will be it for my text, and there will all be parameters of the label. So that will be a label. Then we are going to pack it also, and we pack it at the bottom and we give it a padding of 10. You're going to see what it actually does. So if I try running this, yep, it is running perfectly. So since we have no error, so I will clear my terminal still, and I close my terminal for a better space so that we can see where we're heading to. Then another thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to display my questions. So I'll say self.display. I'm going to display my questions. So I'll say display question. Yep, so it's going to display my questions to me, and that will be my first function. Remember, we were still initializing, or we are still creating what we call the we were still initializing or creating the class constructor. So that one is just one function, which is the class constructor. So we are now going to create another function in so we are going to be creating the functions that we already predefined. And remember, we are saying display question, but the computer doesn't know, or the programming language doesn't know what that function is. This is a function, but we have not yet created that function. So we are going to create that function. So I already have it here. So I'm just going to remove this, and I will say, yeah, the display question is supposed to be like this one. Here I'll be creating a function. This one is our function to display the questions in the window. It's going to be like that. Create a function to display the questions in the window. So it's going to be a function like we defined it the other time. So it's going to be def display questions, and we must make sure that name is the same name as this one. So you should make sure that the same way you stated this one up here is the same way you stated this one up here, because Python is less sensitive, and any difference can mean a different thing. So here we are going to check if there are more questions to display. So by doing that, this one here, we are going to check if there are more questions to display to the user. Okay, I'm just going to say to the user. So what this one basically does, it checks, and it checks dynamically to know whether there are more questions to be checked. To be selected. Because remember, when we selected Mars, and then so the computer keeps checking, is there any other question? Yes, there is another question. It displays that question. Is there another question? Yes. So it brings for you another question. Then, so if yes, then the computer will update the question and the options dynamically. Then if no, the computer is going to show the score to you, which is why we say it else self.show score. So this one is going to say if there are more questions to display, it should display them to you. Then if not, then the computer will display the score to you in actual sense. So that is basically what this one does. So under the checking, we are going to check it like this. So we say if the current question is less than the length of the questions, and remember the questions were in our dictionary here. So if our current question is less than the length of those questions, then it should display the question as the current question. You get it? Then it will take that question, it gets this label here, which will be the question. It will set the question as the label of our new question. So it will say question label, it will configure that question and make it a label of our question. And then it will also configure the options in all the options from our this so-called array here. It will configure them and then set them to the new options. You get it? So it will get those options that we have in our array and set those options as our new items in the list, so that each radio button can have a single value in that array. I hope we're good. So it will say the text, it will be the option, and also the value will be the option. So that means it will create a radio button for each item in the array by getting dynamically whatever will be inside the question and setting the question as our label, and also getting the options and getting each answer inside our options and setting it in dynamically on our radio button. So just basically like that is what the loop does. So else, if there are no more questions to display or to loop through, it will show the score to us, meaning we shall have completed the questions, meaning our questions will be complete. Yeah, that is what it basically does. And then another function we are going to need is the function that is going to submit the answer. After knowing that we have created our button and also looped through our questions, we are going to create a button here. I just pasted it because it was already on my it was already on my clipboard. So I say this one is basically going to be a function that's going to help us to submit our answer. So here we're going to submit our answers. Submit answers. So the function submit answer, I remember we called it somewhere. Yeah, it should be here. Yeah, this command, this one that we created on our button, is the submit answer. So that submit answer is going to check the answer that has been selected. So this first line of code here says selected option equals to self.selected.option get. So this one is going to retrieve the user selected answer. So it's going to know what has the user selected, then it's going to retrieve it. So that same answer is going to be stored in our selected question. We are going to create a variable called selected option, and then it will be stored inside our so it's going to be stored inside our selected option as what has been retrieved from whatever the user has selected. Then it's going to check if selected option, meaning if this option is the correct answer. So it's going to compare the selected question, and it will compare the selected option, and it will compare it to what we have applied as the right answer to our question. So if you can remember here, we created inside our dictionary, we gave it an answer. So we had the right answers here. The right answers here. It's going to come and compare them here. So it's going to be getting the correct answer. Meaning it's going to be getting this the selected option, and then compares it with that answer. But it's going to be using a criteria that answer should be from a current question, and that current question that is currently being displayed on the screen. So it's going to say if the selected option is compared and is equal to the correct answer, which that correct answer is the answer that we had already defined in our dictionary, then it's going to get the score that the user has and add 1 to that score. That is what this is going to basically do. Or else it's going to get that answer and it will append it to a window which will pop up to show us the correct answer, and also showing us that we got a right answer. So in this case, it's not going to add anything to our score book. Yeah, it's not going to add anything to our score book. So this is what it basically does down here. So after that, so this one will always compare it with the correct answer, then updates the score or stores the incorrect answer, and then it moves to the next question. That is why it says self.current question plus 1, meaning it's going to go to the next question. Then after, it's going to display that question that is going to be displayed next. Then also, if you fail to select any question, so that means you must select a question as a must. So it's going to bring a message box showing you a warning that says please select an answer before submitting. So this one is just going to be a message box to show us that we have to select an answer as a must before we can actually proceed to the next question. The thing that we are going to do here is that we are going to display the score. So displaying the score is also as simple as we have been doing. So we are going to create another function that is going to help us display our score. And I already had that function on my clipboard, so I'm just going to bring it and make sure it at the same level. So I'm just going to say this one is going to help us display the score, whatever we shall score. Yeah, as in the right answers we shall have gotten from our quiz. So what this one also basically does, we had already created this score function up here by checking the display question. Then after that, we come and create it down here. So it's going to say result message. So this one will be our result message from whatever the score shall be. Remember, our score is being dynamically stored. And we say if the correct answer, if we had selected the correct answer, so we shall be joining the answers and getting our total score. So we shall be saying we get this one also prepares a summary message showing the total score, list of incorrect answers if any, and also displays the message in the information dialog, and then ends the application by saying root.quit. So this is what it basically does. This one is going to compile the total score. So it will say self.score and then the length of the questions, and then get the number of answers that you got right. Okay. Then if you got if you got the questions wrong, this first line of code here is going to compile the your total score. Then this one here, it will be a condition only. This condition will only be executed if you got any question wrong. So it will get the questions you got wrong, and it will create a list of the incorrect answers and then displays them to you in a dialog box down here. So it will get these answers you got wrong, result answers, and then show them to you in a dialog box, basically. That then after that it's going to quit. Yeah, we want to quit so that after we create the answers, the application can automatically quit itself. So we run this, we try running this and see what it basically does. Yeah, no error. Yeah, we are good to go. Then the last step of our application, and actually the most important step, is going to be the main application. So we are going to loop the main application. We are going to create a loop for our main application. So we are going to say if we are going to check if the name, it's supposed to be double / if the name is equal to main. So it's going to check if the name of I think this one is supposed to be like this. So double / main, meaning we shall run our application if it is the main application. If our name is equal to main, then we shall call the root. We shall say the root is supposed to be our Tkinter .tk. Yep, .tk, and we run that application. Then we also define our app that we want to run, and our app name is supposed to be quiz app because we had already created that, and we define our root inside as a parameter. Then lastly, we create a root.main loop. Yep, so that it can keep on looping. It's supposed to be the main loop, and we create that. After doing that, we save and run our application. Boom, it runs out perfectly. Kampala, I select JavaScript, I select Jupyter, Mars, sorry, Earth, I select Shakespeare, 120, I select. Tells me my correct score, the questions I got wrong, and the right answers. And when I close OK, it will automatically close my application. Yeah, so that is it. That is how basically you can do it. If you're new to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and if this was helpful to you in any way, be sure to give me a thumbs up, and let's meet next time. Thank you.